Robust, that's how Discovery has described its first half performance. The financial services provider has reported a 13% rise in normalized operating profits. The group says this demonstrates its resilience and strong underlying growth dynamics in a complex operating environment. An interim dividend of 65 cents has been declared. Investec has forecast a profit rise. The specialist bank and wealth manager expects a headline earnings per share to rise as much as 10.6% for the year to end March. The group has also projected a credit loss ratio around the midpoint of the through the cycle range of 25 to 35 basis points. Investec will open its books on the 23rd of May. And along with the results, the firm says it will also publish revised medium-term financial targets. Workforce has warned of a plunge into the red. The Employment and Staffing Services Group says it is likely to report a headline loss per share of between 11 and 16 cents. The firm has attributed the swing to adverse trading and out of the ordinary expected credit loss levels. Workforce will publish its results on the 28th of March. South 32 has withdrawn guidance for Australia Manganese. That's as the diversified miner assesses the damage caused by a tropical cyclone in its operations at Groote Eylandt Mining Company. Initial investigations had identified flooding in the mining pits as well as significant damage to a critical haul road bridge. Significant structural damage to the wharf and port infrastructure has also been confirmed. The miner says a further update will be provided in its March 2024 quarterly report. Glencore expects to lower its carbon dioxide equivalent emissions for its industrial assets by 25% by the end of 2030. That's according to the Global Miner and Traders Climate Action Transition Plan. That strategy forecasts that the company will reduce overall emissions by 15% by the end of 2026 and by 50% by the close of 2035. The Financial Sector Conduct Authority, meanwhile, has fined Marcus Jooste 475 million rand. That's for misleading the market about furniture retailer Steinhoff between 2014 and 2017. The fine, which includes 10 million rand for the cost of the investigation, must be paid in full within the next month. And if it's not settled by then, it will incur interest of 11.75%. Jooste was the CEO of furniture retailer Steinhoff when he created fictitious offshore firms to inflate profits and hide losses. He has been named in the public summary of the PwC's forensic report as the key player behind the Steinhoff fraud, which remains South Africa's biggest corporate scandal yet. Sibanye-Stillwater has appointed a head of uranium and says Greg Cochrane will take up the position on the 1st of June. Cochrane will be responsible for developing and driving strategies to optimize the inherent value of the group's substantial uranium resources. He has extensive industry experience spanning more than 15 years, beginning in 2006 when he joined Uranium One's South Australian team. And retail sales dipped last month. The latest print shows a decline of over 2%, reversing the 3.2% gain seen in December. According to Stats SA, that drop is mainly due to a fall in retail sales for textiles, clothing, footwear and leather goods. Further afield, the British inflation cooled in February by slightly more than the Bank of England had expected. Economists say this paves the way for interest rate cuts in the months ahead. Let's listen to this report for more.
British inflation cooled slightly more than expected in February. The UK's Office for National Statistics said Wednesday consumer prices rose by 3.4% in annual terms last month. That slowed from a 4% rise in January and was the lowest rate of inflation in 2.5 years. Both economists and the Bank of England had projected higher inflation. Food and selling prices in eateries were the biggest downward drags, though that was offset by an upward contribution from motor fuels. Services inflation, which the central bank watches closely, slowed to 6.1% from 6.5% in January. Core inflation, which excludes energy, food and tobacco prices, also slowed to 4.5%. The figures were published on the day that the central bank's interest rate setters are due to vote on borrowing costs. The announcement of their March policy decision is due on Thursday. Investors slightly increased bets the bank would start cutting interest rates in August. The bank has said underlying inflation pressure in the economy is still too persistent for it to cut interest rates now, but it has signalled lower borrowing costs are likely later this year.